Welcome to the Kawarthas Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small businesses. I'm Brian Rump from Profit Coach.
And I'm Matt Geraghty from Matters Digital.
And we are recording from the Thrive Podcast Studio at Thrive Co-working Community, 18 Kent Street West in beautiful downtown Lindsay. And today we are just talking about returning to focus. So it is September. I think a lot of business owners, small business owners have been in summer mode. So we're just going to go through a conversation about how you kind of get back to focusing or just getting into that new season of business.
Yeah, I took a ton of time off this summer. I think a lot of people raised an eyebrow about it. I think a lot of people laughed at me. I got a good amount of jokes about a business owner that doesn't work. I loved it. It was great. My criticism was that it made the summer go by even faster, but it was fantastic. I love taking a ton of time off in the summer.
I think that's what we have to model is like we do go through different seasons. There's times to focus. There's times to take some time off. There's times to structure your business so that it's just running. So you're maybe not growing, you're not sprinting, but you're running everything kind of pre-planned. And I think every business, can and should have times like that. And then you kind of get back to focusing. We were talking earlier, but your business, didn't go off the rails. No big fires happened. I think sometimes some people just let things go over the summer, and then they're like not just returning to focus, but having to catch up.
Returning to the scene of the crime.
But it's like, how do we just return and change gears to, start focusing?
I was thinking about that this summer, about it, where people were like somewhat in shock about how much time I took off. I took every other week off in July and August. I took the first week of July off after the first week of summer vacation with my kids. And I took literally every other week off. 1 week on, 1 week off. So it was a lot of time. It was more time in 2 months than most employed people get in an entire year. And this was not the first time I took vacation this year. I've been off 8 weeks, and we're recording this in September. I'm taking a week off every month, which honestly sounds outrageous, and there's people mad probably listening to this. It's not been an issue this year. Spent a ton of time focusing on processes and systems leading up to it. We talked about it a year before, you and I, and it was like, okay, how do we plan for this? How do I work this? Well, it was, how do I do 3-day work weeks?
Yeah.
In July and August. And then in January, when I started legitimately planning it, it was, I still want to take lots of time off. And it was, I want to take the first week of summer vacation and the last week. And I want to take these other weeks. And then I was like, I may as well just go every other week.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it in the summer when I was off about why is this okay? And there's a lot of reasons, but I realized there's so many business owners that are product-based too, or they are the heart and soul of their business, and they have to be there. I'm service-based, and there's so many things that I am doing that continue to roll, continue to move. They're not stuck in the mud until I get there. It's a completely different story if I'm a one-man show and I'm cleaning houses. Then I'm not going to make money. So it's tricky. I spoke to Anand from Twisted Indian the other day. I don't know if he wants me to out him, but he was saying he took a whole month off this past summer. He went back to India. He got really sick for like 10 days. And then he said it was exhausting because it's not just driving to Belleville or whatever, an hour from here, and you don't see everybody. Everyone he's ever interacted with in his whole life had to see him. It was exhausting. But I was thinking about him too, how was he able to continue? Things kept going, things were good, things were fine, things were successful, because he's got, not maybe trendy or buzzwordy thing to say, but he's got a good team. Things continue to move on. You hire the right people.
You manage right. You hire right. And big things come up. It's hard to take a lot of time off, but to take a month off is about planning for it and just being ready and empowering your team to take care of those things. I think too, you talked about, the house cleaning business, and yeah, if you don't clean, you don't get money, but you also can't just clean 24 hours a day all year round. Like, you have to plan in that time and know that, you need a break as well. So it comes back to scheduling. It comes back to kind of planning for those slow times, which I think requires some pre-focus of focusing on what you want. So for you a year ago, it's like, I want to put this time in. And you're living the dream, which is, I want to own a small business. I also want to spend time with my family and know who my kids are. And that's taken a lot of focus and planning, and then decision making of what types of clients do I have? How do we process things? Who's on my team? Like, all of these things go into just being able to do that.
And it's an interesting mindset, because one of the reasons why I started my business was because I wanted to do what I wanted more, and spend more time with my kids and mess off more. Whenever they had something to do middle of the day, I wanted to go do it. And I don't think a lot of people start their business thinking that. I think they think it's the opposite, where they work with someone and a client's like, they say jump, and the business owner's like, well, how high?
Yeah.
And I've never been that person. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but
I think it's a good thing long term. We were talking again, not to give away too much about this with your own business, is you are pre-planned marketing guy, develops and executes a strategy. It's not, oh crap, I need something tomorrow. Can you please scramble and do this? So you can put in a lot of extra work beforehand. And same with most of your clients are also busy in the summer. So it's like, let's pre-plan what we're doing and then focus on just making it work. And then in the fall, when you're kind of quote unquote back, you can return to focusing on kind of the next season or the next phase of business.
And it was easy for me to come back. I think September, there's a natural, everyone's back to school, back to work. We're not on vacation time. And that's a reason why the vacation time this summer was so easy, because most people were off most of the time that I was working with.
People take time. They're not planning stuff. So it's good to take it.
I started working with a new account. It's the most I've ever been able to charge someone before. And I was petrified that I was going to lose it before it started because of how much time I was taking off. And this woman was saying the same thing. She's like, I'm barely working this summer. She's owns a small business as well. She's like, I'm running my kids everywhere. I'm going on this vacation. I'm going on that thing. So she's like, if you're worried about not being able to get a hold of me, or because you're on vacation, it doesn't matter. She's like, I'm gone. Do what you need to do, and we'll regroup in September.
It's clear expectations, and I think that's perfectly valid.
Yeah, absolutely. September's been easy to get back to, because I think, as much as I'm not working, you're not thinking about the business.
Oh, I actually think you probably have better ideas, more clarity. And then when it is time to focus, you're kind of refreshed and hit the ground running.
I felt awkward sometimes because I was pretty good at staying away from my phone while I was away, because it's really hard for me to be off work but stay home and not do anything. It's easy for me to slip onto my phone or slip over to my computer and do something quickly. It's easy when I'm away, right? If I go somewhere, that's easy to stay away. But that's my biggest takeaway too from the vacation times. I didn't do anything. You'll disagree with me because you always say I do 1,000 things, these little things death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, I guess. But next year, the plan will be go somewhere, disappear, disconnect. I think we'll do the weekly check-in with a couple people specifically, but that might be about it type of thing. But I spent most of the summer thinking about things that would pop in my head. And a lot of it was, hey, I can do this. This is easy to take this time off? Why am I not taking more time off? Why am I like, there's things that I've had to do, and I'm like, why do I have to do this? Why is somebody else not doing this? This is ridiculous. And I think it was super useful for that. I came back like super duper energized. And not to sound cheesy, but like I'm ready to like kick ass.
I think that's that is what you want to do, right? You want to be going into what you're really good at. You're doing it. You've set up a good foundation, and you can go in and just kick it.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Change gears to return to focus. What do you think?
Tangible steps and tools.
I think tangible steps. I think not trying to do too much all at once as well. I think you're good at this, but sometimes people are like, oh, it's September, I got to get back to my routine and I'm going to do these 100 things. And then they try to do them all in the first day and they just crash and burn.
I had a hard time not doing 1,000 things from my own marketing perspective last week, but I got back last week. I only worked 3 days. It was Labor Day Monday, and I'm not working Fridays again. So I kept only working the 3 days. And to your point, I didn't do 1,000 things. I purposefully blocked off time on stuff that I had to do, and I purposefully blocked off other focus time for you have all afternoon to just do whatever you need to do or want to do. We get bogged down, especially like we lose control of our schedule when we give too many other people control of it. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, I think it totally does. I think...
I didn't say it eloquently, I don't think. But
that's okay.
I would have lost control of last week in my mood if I just walked into it and had if I announced the world, hey, I'm back. And then everyone is all over me for this and that in this call. I pre-planned a bunch of meetings. I pre-planned a bunch of calls, and then I blocked a bunch of stuff. So I wasn't back on my first day, and all these people I work with falling all over themselves to get a hold of me. In some ways, I felt insufficient or because I didn't have any fires.
Yeah. That's funny how, because I think we get so programmed and conditioned that, hey, we got to put up fires, we got to run, we got to hustle. But it worked how it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. I think the idea of not coming in to do everything, but then also just sticking to your calendar is a great way to focus. For my business and my life, I have the busiest month ahead of me than maybe ever in terms of projects that need to get done. And I go back and forth to being stressed out like crazy, but then also trusting the plan of hey, I actually have all this stuff scheduled. So if all I do is whatever the next thing on my schedule is and put my focus time into that, it will all work out.
I think this goes back, we've talked about this on this podcast 1,000 times. I swear it's how we started talking about things on the podcast, which was planning. And I think there's so many business owners that are just let's see what happens. And I sometimes feel as if I'm not being truthful to people because I don't have great written down plans. And I don't have a plan of I don't know what my marketing plan is. That's not written down. I don't know what my business plan is. But
again, there's this giant myth that people write these things down. I think it happens in big corporations. They'll have business planning season and there's all this layers and layers of bureaucracy, but we don't necessarily need the written down plan.
Yeah. I think I'm just selfish and I want to do things the way I want to do them. Not the way I want to, but if I want to go not work Fridays, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to figure out how do we do that? How do I work around
that? That's the setting it up. Again, we follow some frameworks and some general things, but that's the I don't work Fridays. So how do I schedule Monday to Thursday better to still accomplish everything I need to accomplish?
I think I work 3-day weeks. Because every Monday, I don't do anything other than talk about myself.
That's work. That is some work, but it's also when you look at focused, billable work, it's contained. And that's another reality of small business. Sometimes people think, well, I'll just start up and I'll do 40 hours of working. Mm-hmm. And it's not possible. You are lucky to get maybe 20 hours a week of like billable focus time. I think I keep hearing these stats, but your best employee ever is like 40% effective.
Yeah.
So like when you look at yourself as a business owner, like I know for me, I have so many high quality billable focus creative hours, whether I use those in coaching and teaching or writing or preparing, and I can only schedule so many of those hours a week. But the magic is if you can actually do it consistently, you achieve every goal you want. So for you, like, Mondays, as you talk about yourself day, that contributes to other things softly, but you're not doing client work those days.
And I don't work like 10, 12-hour days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I barely work 8. I get in after 9. I eat lunch every day away from my desk. I'm home by 5 o'clock every single day. It's been good. But
yeah, it's a lot of work though to do that, and a good consistency. But you can't just like go golfing every single day or whatever. Like you have to. Maybe you could.
Maybe one day.
Be a challenge.
Challenge accepted. I think the thing is, like, I work most on planning and thinking about how to make my life easier. And do I think that every business owner could do what I'm doing? Yes, I do.
Well, because
I don't mean to like pat myself on the back here, but like, I really think that not to say if I can do it, anybody can, but really, if I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah. And it is, I think, what everyone should be focusing on doing. It's not easy to get there because you've gone through a lot of leveling up and processing to be able to get there. But it then allows you to know when the time is that you have to focus. Yeah. And you are really good at doing that when your door's shut or it's like time for working on a certain client, like you actually pull that off.
Yeah, like I'm not the grit grinder I used to be. And I did used to work a lot. I was going to say I used to work harder. I don't work any differently. Like, it's not harder or less hard than I used to. But when I first started, it was work 9 to 5, come up, hang out with the kids when they were done, like at dinner time. When they went to bed, I'd go back to work for a couple hours. I basically burned myself out.
Yeah.
I started to figure out little things here and there. Like, okay, well, we need someone to come in and do a bit of different work for me. And then we need somebody else and all these different things. So it took time. Like, it wasn't always this way. This was me thinking, like, I love this. I love doing my own thing. I love running the businesses. I'm not going to go punch a clock somewhere. It's never going to happen. But how do I make it easier for myself?
Yeah, and it's through focusing, right? And I think to bring back the theme of our episode, it's about focusing on what's the most important thing for you to do, the most important work for you to do, and then kind of solving problems to keep those boundaries up.
Yeah.
And hopping into it. I think the last things that I'll sort of add to this is, the permission of everyone to take those seasons to do different things. And when we do come into a season of focus, it's not trying to do everything all at once. Doing things like time boxing or blocking, whichever terminology you use. Create a plan and stick to what the most important things are. You are elite at not wasting your time on little things. Mm-hmm. I look at my own career, I have wasted so much time on little things. And then I look at my money-making times. I'm like, man, if I only did the things where, because I can do something that makes a lot of money in a short period of time sometimes. If I filtered out all the noise, things could have been different. But also I keep now getting better and better at channeling that. And the key really is focusing on the right thing at the right time and consistently doing that. And I think everyone can do that. And then this is the time of year where, we get that back to school seasonal change where it's time to just focus.
Yeah. The blocking of the time was super helpful. I started this year blocking time, but it was more of focus. Do focus work. It was very vague. And then this summer, I blocked off stuff very precisely of this is when you do this. This is when you do that. Like a checklist, frankly, but even more better than a checklist. That was so effective, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest takeaway from the summer. I may have said that a bunch now. But a big takeaway from the summer was also blocking off time more precisely, like that. Of I used to just think, oh yeah, I need to get to this for this account. But now every month I have it in my calendar. This is the day that I'm going to spend all my time thinking about this problem, frankly.
Yeah.
And that I'm extremely excited about. I'm so calm right now about the work that we've got. It's not even.
That's awesome. So exciting. On that note, what do you want the people to know about you?
I think we've gotten away from being timely with our podcast, so I'm going to continue with that theme. I want people to know that I'm doing a lunch and learn on Thursday, October the 5th at 12 o'clock at Thrive Co-working Community. I'm going to tell you 2 easy ways to get found on Google in less than 60 days. And then one more thing is I want people to know we have the podcast anniversary party Friday, October 13th at 7 p.m. Come to Thrive Co-working Community. Celebrate this podcast that we've now been doing for 3 years. And we are in the 1% of podcasts globally based on statistics. So I think that'd be cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, please reach out to us. Come to that. We'd love our listeners to join us at that. I am Brian Rump. I want you to know that I am the business coach that helps you build your business the way you want and get the financial results you deserve. You can book a free discovery meeting with me at profitcoach.ca. And as always, if you would like to be on the podcast, please reach out to us at setitup@kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca.